Let's take a quick look at these questions here from Passport to Advanced Maths with a lot of unknowns here. Here they've asked you to identify the polynomial which has x plus 2b as one of its factors. Now, if it's x plus 2b is one of the factors, we need to use the reverse of middle term splitting over here. Now, when we talk about reverse of middle term splitting, we need to identify the other factor over here, which is not possible directly. So what we do is, we add another unknown to this. One factor is given, and the other factor, I hope you understand why it's 3x over here, keeping 3x square is the common coefficient of x square in all the answers. Now, this is something which we have kind of tried to add over here. When we expand this, we get a final equation of this form. Now, given to us is 6b as a constant over here. Equating the two, we identify that what we have added over here as alpha is going to be equal to 3. When we put that in coefficient of x over here, we get to know that b or coefficient of x is going to be 3 plus 6b. Now, they're confusing you by adding b as an unknown. And also we know that whenever we have an equation, we have b as a coefficient of x. So they're trying to confuse you a lot. Just stick to the basics here. B is also given as an integer. That's what the statement says. When we put the value of b is equal to 1, we get coefficient of x is 9. 9 is not an option. Hence, we try further. When we put b as 2, we get 15 as coefficient of x, and that's an option given over here. So this is our right choice. This is the approach that you need to use to solve these kind of questions where the coefficient of x is missing and one of the factors is given in the form of a unknown over here, x plus 2b. Going to the next question over here. Now, this has been a greatly debated question also. And people have used different kinds of approaches. This a very simple approach to this. Now, they've given you this expression and they've asked you, what is the maximum value of b? And that's the trick. At the same time, they've given you one factor as q raised to power 9x plus r. You do see that this equation can be simplified if we just replace q by 9 here in this form and just write it as x squared, 34x squared plus bx plus 7, taking that q. We can do this, correct? Just to simplify it. Now, if they had asked you what's the minimum value of b, a simple discriminant rule can be applied to the same, and you can get the minimum value of b using the logic when there is a factor, then d is greater than equal to 0. And when I say factor, I mean to say that since q and r are given as the real numbers, it's a real and rational root that we're talking about here. Now, minimum value of b is relatively easy to find using the discriminant rule. But what they have asked you is the maximum value of b. So what's the approach that we're going to use here? The first thing that you need to keep in mind is that the roots are real and rational. And when you have real and rational roots, the middle term splitting is possible. This is the fact that you need to keep in mind. And when I say middle term splitting is possible, now we all know the method here that we multiply a and c, prime factorize it to find various ways that the middle term splitting can happen. Now keep that in mind. For a maximum value of b, the middle term splitting is possible by multiplying the total product of a and c with 1. And you just quickly take a look at this brief example over here. For 100, it's 10 into 10. Also, 100 is equal to 100 into 1. The addition of these two is minimum and the addition of these two is maximum for getting the product as 100. So the farther they are from each other, the more is their sum total over here. Now, There were a few students who tried this question on Desmos, and you'll see that the value on Desmos can go much beyond 2381. And it still gives you some form of roots. But remember, those roots would not be in the form of rational roots. There will be some decimal value that will keep on showing on Desmos as you keep on increasing this value of 2381. And those roots would be irrational in nature. This is why I feel strongly that Desmos is, they've given you Desmos, but you need to go by the basics when solving most of the questions over here. All right. And also you can try this on Desmos and you'll see it'll be giving the values. But if you go by the roots that are coming over there, they won't be the rational roots. Now, another question that we've encountered here is they've given you the polynomial in the form of these unknowns and this expression here. And they say if the product of the solution is KAB, find K. Look at the number of unknowns, A, B, K. And anyhow, see, there's one method that you can use wherein you expand this and you convert it into standard form. And then you use the formula, which is C upon A for the product of solutions. But the other way, which is a quick way, if you can use it, is that the first root is A upon 9 and the second root is B upon 3. And simply the product of roots would be 1 upon 27 into AB, giving us the K value as 1 by 27. Don't get flustered. Start doing the sum the way it's given, whatever you can do of it. Just start by writing it and you will reach your solution. Again, a very similar question. So what they're doing in your SAT is they are giving same question, but in various forms with various numbers in different regions. I mean, you see the same students from different places getting similar question, but some number is different, some unknown is different. Yeah. Now, now let's talk about another question over here. They give you a certain expression again with a lot of unknowns here. And then they ask you if one of the roots is s plus root 2 t by r, what is the sum of s plus t? Looking at all this, it looks like what are they asking? But when you look at this form, they are asking you to use the quadratic method of finding out the root because this is how it should look like. All you need to do is put this formula, quadratic formula over here, get the expression and just identify what is S standing for and what is T standing for, put it together and you get your answer over here. Moving on to the last question. Again, unknowns given you, this is a quadratic expression over here. And they've given you some abstract information that F20 is greater than 0, F23 is less than 0, and F27 is greater than 0. You can't find the unknowns. Also, you look at this, they're asking you what could be the value of A plus B. Whenever you see that they're not asking you a specific answer, it means they don't expect you to find it. It means you cannot find it. Hence, in those questions, you don't have to solve these questions because you cannot solve them, right? What you need to do is just pen it. When I say pen it, just draw the figure. If I say F20 is greater than 0, it would fall in the first quadrant. F23 is less than 0, it should fall in the fourth quadrant. And F27 is greater than 0 would again fall in the first quadrant. Just by looking at this parabola, I see that the point of the first root or the smaller root here would lie between 20 and 23. Similarly, the second root would lie between 23 and 27. So again, the A value could be anything. And normally for these questions, they'll say that A is an integer or B is an integer. And in that case, when they're asking you sum, A could be 21 or 22, and B could be 24, 25, 26, any of these values. So A plus B could be sum of any of these values, doesn't matter. You don't have to get confused over these things. They accept all possible responses, the 6 of them over here, as an answer over here. And this is usually given as an open-ended question. So we've dealt with a few of the tricky ones here now. And I hope you're able to understand the concept behind each of them so that you are able to use them in any other way that they try and test you over here. For any other questions, for any other queries, please connect with me on my email ID or the number given. At the same time, my next video would be covering again the unknowns as we saw them in geometry and some of them in PSD at this time. Thank you.